Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Saturday, April 19th, and the Stanley Cup playoffs are here. It is the first day of playoff action, and we have two series getting underway tonight with Game 1 matchups. St. Louis, Winnipeg, Colorado, Dallas. Get the party started tonight, and we'll break it all down as we always do each and every game from a betting perspective. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we've got Ryan Robinson with us once again on a Saturday, but for the first time, a playoff Saturday to get things rolling. Before we get into the Game 1 breakdowns, and obviously we're going to be talking Blues, Jets, and Avs Stars coming up, but there was one important piece of business that we did not get to on the playoff preview show yesterday, and we're going to quickly get to that right now. It was just a brain fart because we were planning on giving our Stanley Cup final and our Stanley Cup champion predictions. Yet I'm having as hard a time as I've had in recent memory coming up with my Stanley Cup final and my Stanley Cup champion this year. So probably from that standpoint, it ended up being a situation where I had to give it a good amount of thought when it was all said and done. But I ended up coming up with, as far as my Stanley Cup final here this year, a little bit off the grid a little bit, but I went Lightning Jets, with Tampa Bay being your Stanley Cup champion. I could go so many different ways with this. I had the Leafs going very far in the end, but I ended up going Tampa Bay. Actually, I had them losing to Tampa Bay, but I could see Toronto winning that. There's still a little bit of Toronto hesitancy because of their past, but I went with Lightning and the Jets and Tampa Bay winning the Stanley Cup. So there you go, Lightning, Jets, and Tampa Bay your champion. Alex, what did you have?
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you yesterday. It's funny when you messaged me, like we didn't give out our cup final, and I go, yeah, I don't really have one yet either. So worked out that we're doing it today. But I did my brackets, went through everything. Like I said it in the show yesterday. There's a multitude of probabilities you could have ending up at the final. I have Kings beating the Capitals in the final. And I have Toronto going far. I actually have Toronto and Caps as my Eastern Conference final. I have, unfortunately, Ryan, Colorado and LA as my Western final. But I do think that Kings Vegas series is the one that stuck out to me. And it's funny, we'll be talking about Dallas, Colorado a little bit. We were all thinking months ago that would possibly end up being a second round matchup. And we said, wow, that's going to be a dynamite matchup. I think we all kind of agreed that matchup, if it was in the second round, would more than likely be the Cup winner, if not the West representative. That's how I'm kind of feeling about LA Vegas now. The way that could kind of collide into one of those teams having that kind of momentum to maybe they can make a run, win the West, and maybe even get to win the Cup as well. So those are
I had LA losing to Winnipeg in my Western final, for what it's worth.
Okay.
But I had LA going pretty. This is crazy that I'm so high on LA all of a sudden. But you
same.
see all season how well they defend and how well they've played at home. And obviously Darcy Kemper's season. But unfortunately, that's why I think they lose to Winnipeg in my mind, because Winnipeg can do all those things just as well, if not better, than LA. And I think they got a little bit more scoring punch than LA, which would be the difference in that series when it's all said and done. I was very close to making it a Toronto versus a Winnipeg final. But
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just still a little hesitant.
Two Canadian teams in the final. Come on, that would have been a bit much.
That's another thing I said. What? This country hasn't won a damn Stanley Cup. Any other teams in 32 years?
Oh.
How the hell can I put two Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup
Can
final?
you try to explain what that country would be like if two teams from Canada met each other in the Cup final after having this drought? Like that had to be the biggest event there in forever, right?
Yeah, it would be. It would be, and I'll tell you what, they would be doing absolute cartwheels at Rogers headquarters, Rogers Sportsnet. If we ever get a Toronto, Winnipeg, or you name it, Ottawa, Winnipeg, Montreal, whatever. If two Canadian teams are in the Stanley Cup, at Ottawa, Edmonton, Toronto, Edmonton.
Yeah.
Let's not discount Edmonton, even though I don't think they're getting out of the first round. That any Canadian matchup, all Canadian matchup in the Stanley Cup final would be something. Ryan, obviously, well, I'll just throw it to you. Give you a chance. Do you have a Stanley Cup final prediction or no?
Not fully, no. I mean, I got to ride with the Stars, but if I had to, for fun, I'd say I want a 2020 rematch of Dallas and Tampa Bay. So I think that.
Oh yeah, the bubble. We remember
outside
that.
of following my Stars, I'm going to be interested in that Tampa Florida series. Obviously, Florida's the defending champs. It's bad blood between those teams. State rivals. So I'm excited to see that. Obviously, Tampa has home ice, so lean towards them a little bit. But yeah, that's for fun. Obviously, I have to go with my Stars, so I'll say Dallas and Tampa for my Stanley Cup final.
All right, there you go. Dallas and Tampa Bay.
To show my age a little bit, when Ryan said rematch, the first thing that came to my mind was Dallas, New Jersey from the 2000 final. I was like, oh, that'd be an interesting one. But yeah, of course, Dallas, Tampa in the bubble. That was an interesting series too. So, yeah.
That was a year before I was born. So
I know, right? So it's like, I was like, oh yeah, right, that series. So.
No doubt. All right, let's get into it. We got 2 game ones, and we will begin with the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets. We've got Winnipeg minus 200 home favorites, and the total. How about this total? 5 shaded to the over. That's what tells you the Stanley Cup playoffs are here when you start to see the totals of 5 start to show up. The Winnipeg Jets, a team that this year, I'm buying more than I have in the past. I know there's a lot of elements with this team, very similar to Toronto. Shortfalls in the early exits in the playoffs. Struggles to go deep into the playoffs, questions about specifically Connor Hellebuck's ability to elevate and in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Those are definitely all valid questions going into this game and in this series. But the eye test that I've seen in this Winnipeg team all year, if they can bring even 80% of the way they have played during the regular season into the playoffs with them, I don't see how they lose this series, and I don't see how they make a deep run. And even with the question marks that this team has with, Ehlers' health, obviously he got banged up late in the regular season. So unfortunate as him. We'll talk about it with Jason Robertson for Dallas in the next game. Just these unfortunate injuries in meaningless games down the stretch. And it happened too as well for Nikolai Ehlers. So he is not going to be available here for game 1 tonight for the Winnipeg Jets. Gabe Vilardi, an upper body injury. Now, he was still, they left the door open for him to be available. We'll have to wait and see on that going into this game here. But like I said, I think Winnipeg, even without those players, we saw down the stretch what Alex Iafallo did, filling that role vacated by his Kings teammate back in the day. They were both with the LA Kings. Gabe Vilardi, Iafallo went into that role with Scheifele and Connor on the top line. He played very well. Niederreiter, Nemesnikov, and Cole Perfetti, who I think could be a bit of a under-the-radar difference maker for the Jets. I would not be surprised to see Cole Perfetti have a nice series here for the Jets, especially the way he played, was able to score down the stretch. Brandon Tanev is brought in from Seattle, gives them a nice third checking line with Adam Lowry, the captain, and Mason Appleton. Morgan Barron started to find the back of the net on occasion late in the season as well. He's on a fourth line with Gustafsson and Jared Anderson-Dolan. So there's definitely a lot of options here for the Winnipeg Jets. Josh Morrissey's turned into a tremendous defenseman. Great at both ends of the ice. Dylan DeMello, an unsung, underrated defenseman. Sandberg, Pionk, Stanley, Shen, many of them big, physical, drive you into the boards type of defensemen, capable of being sound in their own zone, clearing the front of the net. And then, of course, if Hellebuck delivers the way he does in the regular season and the playoffs for a change, it's going to be tough to beat this Winnipeg team. St. Louis, a great run. We've made a lot of money on St. Louis. We've been high on them. But there are some concerns going into this series, and one of them being the absence of Dylan Holloway, who was just such a big-time component of what made the St. Louis Blues go and what made them go on that great run to get into the playoffs. They will miss him significantly with what he brought. But there is good news. Colton Parayko came back from injury down the stretch of the season. You look at the way Pavel Buchnevich was late in the year offensively. Him, Thomas, and won't you be my neighbor, Jake Neighbors could be a really good line. We're going to see how the young kid out of college, Jimmy Snuggerud, who got his first NHL goal down the stretch, how he does here in the postseason, playing with Shen, the captain, Braden Shen, and Jordan Kyrou. Of course, Zach Bolduc gives them a third-line weapon with what he's been able to do for this Blues team in the regular season. And, of course, you've got the Four Nations goaltending matchup that we saw, Canada-USA, once again occurring here with Binnington versus Hellebuck, which will be a lot of fun. There's no question. This feels like it's going to be, and when you look back at Winnipeg, St. Louis in the series history this season, the games in Winnipeg, both of them stayed under. This could be a bit of a cagey series, lower scoring series, especially we know Binnington was awesome, Four Nations and beyond. The question is if we get regular season Hellebuck here in game one and in this series, I mean, I don't know if St. Louis is going to be doing, a ton of scoring. So this is one where I'm not jumping to bet over, even at 5. The only thing I have got here in this pregame in game one is I do think the whiteout, which is just one of the great environments in the playoffs, the whiteout at Canada Life Center for Winnipeg home games. I think it does spur Winnipeg on to a solid start. I like their team total in the first period. You could shop around, bet MGM, to maybe get a lead in the opening period. I think they could, definitely feed off that great crowd that they're going to have early in the game. Now, if you recall last year in game one of the playoffs in Winnipeg, they played Colorado, and it was 3-3 after the first period. But Winnipeg did score 3 goals, but again, that was Hellebuck with the playoff struggles in between the pipes last year in that series for the Jets against the Avs. But that first period of game one, Avs-Jets in Winnipeg last year, Winnipeg did score 3 goals. They're not going to score 3 tonight. I think this probably is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game, but I've got it in my mind that Winnipeg can maybe tally 1 and get on the board. It is worth noting that they did beat St. Louis 3-1 down the stretch of the regular season when the Blues obviously were playing like gangbusters, to try to get into the playoffs down the stretch. And yet Winnipeg was still able to get a 3-1 win against them here. You can find Winnipeg here. It's around minus 160 to get a first period goal. I sprinkled on that. I didn't want the 1 because I'm not convinced they get 2 in the first period. I think they can get to 1. It's a little bit of a bigger price than I was hoping for, but minus 160 with Winnipeg to get a goal in the first period. It's the only pregame bet I've got. My plan of attack is if we have one of those 1 goal or 0 goal first periods, which I think could be possible in this game. You know how good, especially with the scoreless first periods, second period overs have been. Then I'm going to get interested in a live over, but not pregame. Alex, what do you think here? Game 1, Louis, Winnipeg.
Yeah, this is going to be, like I said, an interesting start. Of course, like I said, the home ice, and I will have those the goalie charts updated with the home ice advantages. But Winnipeg's a team that has moved up 1 point in my rankings for home ice. Like I said, that whiteout crowd that does bring a different advantage, different style. The building is going to be packed, which is sadly something we didn't see. How well Winnipeg played all year long. They still had some not full arenas on some nights. So that won't be the case here. There'll be a ton of enthusiasm and energy. And I would maybe look at taking Winnipeg to score first goal the first period at plus 110. A little bit
That's
safer
good.
of a price
Yeah.
than laying that 150 or 160. And then from there, looking for live overs. Now, here's the crazy thing about seeing a 5 shaded as high as it is, minus 140. Couple minutes in the play, we're going to see this probably revert to 4.5 over minus 180, 200, something crazy like that. So the books are kind of setting this almost as a trap to slow down. I can already tell you now, it's going to be going down at probably 10-cent increments every 30 seconds. It's going to take us a long time. So this is one where, like, if you like goals early, you might want to insulate yourself with goal in first 5 minutes, goal in first 10. But if you think it's going to be a kind of a slower first period, which I do believe it will be, This is one where you try to shape up and grab plus money with 4.5, maybe even 3.5. Like I said, if it's scoreless after 20, we'll be looking to attack that second period over, which, of course, like I said, we have to tread lightly with this. Hot as it was heading into the postseason, may not be the same because the pace of play is a little different. But I think we do see more goals. You always usually do see more goals in the first round anyway. And I do think we're going to see more open series, more of a regular season like feel from first to second period in the first round than say we will in the conference finals.
No doubt. As far as player props on the Winnipeg side, again, obviously Connor and Scheifele are two of the go-to guys offensively. Wouldn't shock me if they make an impact, but I'm always looking for value. I want to get the better, I look for better prices, some more value in the player prop market than just the obvious candidates. For me, it would be Iafallo on that top line with Scheifele and Connor. Perfetti, I think, could have himself quite a playoff run and quite a series. I think watch out for him. I know he's still a young player, but great leaps in his career this year. And I think Cole Perfetti, is someone who I've got over goals in the series to get at least 2 goals in the series. And he's someone as well that I sprinkled on for not only Jets leading goal scorer in the series, but overall leading goal scorer in the series, Cole Perfetti. That's how much I think he can make a difference. Yes, Adam Lowry is one of my favorites for this Jets team as far as playoff impact is concerned. Yes, Adam Lowry's not a big offensive player in the regular season, but how many times have we seen one of my favorite captains in the entire league, if you ask me, Adam Lowry? How many times have we seen him step up and score big goals for the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs? We've seen it very often. So I like where Landon's going, thinking about Adam Lowry here as a value shot. For St. Louis, Buchnevich finished the season strong. Jake Neighbors, someone I would look at. And I can't pass up taking Zachary Bolduc. I think there's tremendous value there. Third line, we saw what he was able to do down the stretch. Snuggerud got his regular season first NHL goal. I don't want to rush to take Snuggerud right away. Let's see how he fares. It's his first ever taste of the Stanley Cup playoffs for a guy fresh out of college, a rookie that's played just a handful of games in the NHL. But Perfetti, if you ask me the favorite value prop on each side, I'd say Perfetti, Winnipeg, Bolduc, St. Louis. If you wanted to ask me just one for each side. What do you think here in this one, Ryan? Blues and Jets?
Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to come down to, like you said, if your regular season Hellebuck shows up. So I do like Jets in regulation for this first game. With the whiteout, having home ice, they've been good there all year. They're going to be amped up. So especially if he has a good game, I do, rather than taking him at minus 205, I do like their 60-minute line. I do also lean towards the Blues team total under 2.5, minus 155-ish. So I think if Hellebuck shows up, it's going to be tough for St. Louis to generate offense, especially in that rink. They have last change. Winnipeg's going to have the matchup. So I definitely lean towards Winnipeg in this first one. Not counting out St. Louis. They've been on a tremendous run, but I just feel like for the first game, I'm definitely leaning towards Winnipeg and see them getting it done in regulation if they show up and play how they're capable of playing. For player props, as you mentioned, I do like Kyle Connor. He's been a horse for them. So I am looking at his anytime goal prop. But that's pretty much it for me. I'm not touching any first period overs or anything like that with this one. If it is 0-0, I will probably hop in on something, as you mentioned, see how that trend fares in the playoffs early. And you mentioned as well, but the first round of the playoffs seemed to be much more high scoring and offensive compared to obviously the later rounds. Teams tighten up and adjust. So especially these first few games, if you do like an over, or if a game starts dry and it drops, it is a good spot to take it live. So I will be monitoring that, but I don't have any period props, first period props pregame. So
it was 3-1 to the under between these two teams in the regular season. If you remember the one game that went over, I think it was an Alex B. Smith best bet, if I'm not mistaken, on that particular day, that particular show. It was a Winnipeg at St. Louis game, and it was, what was it? There was it was only 2-1 Winnipeg entering the third period. The Blues tied it early in the third. Buchnevich got a power play goal with like 2:50 left in the third to give the Blues a 3-2 lead, and then Velarde tied it with 30 seconds left. 3-3, and the game went to overtime. So that's
That
the
does
only
sound
game
familiar.
that went over between these two teams, and it took a lot to get there. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
And one thing I would suggest, if you're looking at any game, and the right you said end in regulation, BetMGM has the prop again for another playoffs where you can bet empty net goal in the game. It's a one-way market, yes, plus 115 for this game in particular, and you can bet which team to score an empty net goal. Blues at right now at plus 500, or Jets at plus 230. That's something I would definitely look at. You can basically get plus money betting those two things along with regulation, and that's essentially betting the no on a game going to overtime and getting plus money for it.
Yep.
So,
no doubt, absolutely. Should be interesting to see how this plays out. But this is the first game. Like I said, I think the Blues are going to be a tough out. I think it will be competitive, but I do think that the Jets will prevail in the game, and I think they'll probably prevail in the series. But I don't dismiss the Blues. They've had a great run. There's no question. We'll see.
now I got to mention that with my game bets there, because see, I bet Blues plus 160 game one. I also have Blues to win game one, Jets to win series plus 340. So I am on Blues money line in this game.
Yeah.
But I will be looking. Blues get this win. I will certainly be taking that quarter unit that I won and coming right back on Jets just to win series, because I have other things like Jets 4-2 and stuff. Of course, all that is in the preview yesterday. But that's my mode of attack. Jets Blues win here. I will be officially on Jets for the series.
All right, indeed. So that's a good approach. And again, that's what's great about the playoffs. We've mentioned that quite a bit. The ability to find the game one winner and series winner combo bet. It's definitely been a go-to. And there's a lot of times where, you have the same team to win the game and the series, or you have a different team to win game one from the team to win a series. It's a good way to approach it. All right, next up, we've got Colorado and Dallas. Game one between these two teams, a rematch of their second round playoff series last year. So for the second year in a row, they will face off in the playoffs. Colorado minus 150 road favorite, 6.5. 6.5. Look at this total finally moving. I whipped everybody into shape, apparently, telling everyone the last couple days, how the hell did this total open at 5.5 between these two teams here in game one? I shouldn't have said it, though, because unfortunately, I have one hell of a fucking good number in price in pocket with Colorado, Dallas over 5.5, minus 115 2 days ago. I even mentioned it on the Sammy P Chicken Dinner podcast with Alex. I loved it on that show. And unfortunately, look, it has moved, but I still love it. I still think it goes over 6.5. I do. It's an over by Fecta slam dunk spot for me here in this game. If you look at Colorado, Dallas, every regular season game this season, head-to-head, cashed over by Fectas. Every one between the Avs and the Stars. They all went over in the first period. They all went over in the full game. Last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the first two games in Dallas were over Paloozas, both of them. Now, the second game of that series last year, the first period actually did stay under. But both games, 1 and 2 last year in Dallas, between these two teams, they both went over the total for the full game. So I definitely think this is a lot of goals. Dallas's defense, we know, was not good down the stretch. They finally showed, hey, we missed Miro Heiskanen. Big fucking, we're not splitting the atom figuring that one out. They missed Miro Heiskanen, there's no doubt. And look, they've gotten yeoman's effort and work out of Thomas Harley and Esa Lindell and Matt Dumba and Lyubushkin and all these guys. And I think at the end of the season, all the minutes and the increased responsibility, it kind of got to them. It added up. You could tell there was a drop-off collectively in the blue line down the stretch. No question. Would you want to see Jake play a little bit better in net too, Jake Ottinger? Sure. But I think a bigger proponent, was the blue line and all the minutes that have added up on all these guys, because they're trying to fill the almost impossible shoes of missing a guy like Miro Heiskanen. So Dallas is definitely vulnerable. They lost, and their penalty kill, guys. Gosh, what happened to it down the stretch? And that's probably the biggest concern I have with Dallas here. If they take penalties, and I know Ryan will talk about in his breakdown how he's heard a lot of the Dallas players mention how, hey, we've got to make the first hit, make the first play, and not retaliate in this series, and not kind of give Colorado those power play opportunities. Easier said than done, but certainly it's going to be vital for Dallas to not give Colorado too many power play opportunities. So as much as we worry about Dallas's struggles defensively down the stretch, it caught up to them, certainly, and it wasn't at all a very good finish to the season for them at that end of the ice when you see them give up 5 to Nashville, 6 to Detroit, 5 to Utah, 4 to Winnipeg, 6 to Vancouver. I mean, just ugly. There's no doubt during that 7-game losing streak. You do have to keep in mind, though, one thing, that is Dallas did not have much invested emotionally in those games down the stretch. They had locked up their positioning long ago. They've known for, weeks now, that they were going to play Colorado and get home ice advantage in the first round. The moment they lost that game to Winnipeg at home, you knew they were going to finish second in the Central and they were going to host Colorado. So it's not like they've had a ton invested in these games down the stretch, but still, it is alarming to see the defensive struggles. That being said, you look at Dallas up front facing this Colorado team, and obviously with the certain struggles of the Avs or the Stars on the blue line, you do have to give the Avs blue line certainly an edge on paper with Taves and Makar and Girard, and Manson's healthy, and he'll be back here for game 1. Josh Manson, Ryan Lindgren, who they got from the Rangers at the trade deadline, Eric Johnson, who was, a nice veteran depth defenseman piece for them when they won the Cup a few years ago. He's back now with the Avs as well. But you have to remember, Dallas still has quite a bit. And even with the unfortunate injury in game 82 for Jason Robertson against the Nashville Predators, just awful to see that. And now all of a sudden he's week to week here due to injury out of the lineup for Dallas. But even without him, you've got Rope Hintz, Mason Marchment, Granlund. No, actually, that's not going to be the line. That's actually an old. But you got a chance for these lines to be very good. Remember the chemistry that Marchment, Duchesne, and Seguin had. Seguin came back, and he factored in on the only goal that Dallas scored in his return against Nashville the other night. And I really, really like that Dallas third line. How could you not? The fact that we could see Wyatt Johnston and Mikko Rantanen, who will be, I'm sure, very excited to play this series, obviously against his old team. The fact we get to see Wyatt Johnston, who proved himself big time as a playoff performer, a guy that elevates at this time of year, to put Wyatt Johnston with Mikko Rantanen, I think is a great move by Peter DeBoer. You got to give him credit for that. And then you put Ben, the captain, Jamie Benn, on that line, and that's got the potential to be a very good line for Dallas. And at the end of the day, we know Dallas has had their issues defensively. And Ottinger didn't play great down the stretch, but Ottinger's a goalie that's been good enough. We've seen it in years past to take his team to the Western Conference Final in back-to-back seasons. Look at the goalie at the other end. What are we going to get from him? Does anybody know? Can you really look at yourself in the mirror with honesty and say, Mackenzie Blackwood, I will put my life on the line with Mackenzie Blackwood taking me to the promised land? Not me. Not me. I need to see it before I believe it. Have we seen glimpses? Yes. Have we seen good stretches from Mackenzie Blackwood? Sure. But he is insulated by a very high-scoring team. He's insulated by a pretty solid blue line. And now the pressure ratchets up. And here's the amount of games this guy has started in the postseason. 0. None, in my opinion. So I'm not convinced that the Dallas Stars are going to get shut down in this series by Colorado either. So I think it's just back and forth. And I think it's a high-scoring series start to finish. But I knew right away when I saw that total open 5.5, minus 115, I said, holy fuck, we've got to pounce on this, because if this game's 4-3, 5-4, like I think it could be, or even 6-5, I wouldn't rule that kind of a game out here tonight. If it's that kind of a game here in game 1, we're not going to get 5.5 anymore in later games in this series. So over by Fecta for me. I did not take either side. I don't like that Dallas has struggled in game 1s. Game 1s have been horrific for Dallas in the postseason. Last year, even 2 years ago, they have not been a good game 1 team for whatever reason. So, I could see Colorado winning game 1. Here's the thing for Dallas. You need to get some confidence back in your team. And the one thing you can't have happen tonight on home ice with all the questions and, oh, what happened to you? And it looks like you're vulnerable. You're going to get beaten now by this Colorado team. Everyone's saying it. The one thing you can't have happen is getting blown out tonight. If you compete hard and you lose a tough, hard-fought game by a goal, or maybe it's an empty net goal and Colorado puts it into the empty net, you lose, say, 5-3. That's pretty, you take away some level. It's like a moral victory. You don't love moral victories, but you still take away some confidence for the next game. Like, we can play with these guys. We just have to, fix a few things. But if you lose, let's say 6-1 tonight or 7-2, then the doubts creep in again. Like, wow, this 7-game losing streak did carry over here into game 1, and you go into game 2 with even less confidence as a group. Meanwhile, you fuel the confidence of the Colorado Avalanche if that's the fashion you lose in tonight on home ice if you're the Dallas Stars. So it's not just about winning or losing. It's about how do you lose? If you lose this game, how do you lose? Are you right there? Is there elements of the Dallas Stars that we've known and loved the last couple years coming back in this game, win or lose, or not? And that's going to determine where the confidence will be with Dallas moving forward after game 1 tonight, win or lose. But the only moves for me pregame over by Fecta, I still think you can go ahead and take it at 6.5. I'm cool with it at 6.5. Obviously, I like it more at the 5.5 when I pounced on it right away. But 6.5, I still sign off on it. I think 7 is the minimum we see here in this game for total goals. Alex, what do you think here? Avs, Stars.
So I was right there with you grabbing the over. I actually laid -125 on the over 5.5. That was after we got off the air and chicken dinner on Thursday. And like I said, so we've seen this number move. 6.5 over for the full game. I like it, but I would wait. Try to grab 6, maybe even a 5.5. This is a game where maybe we see the totals kind of drop and move a little differently than, say, Colorado and St. Louis. Like I said, Colorado, St. Louis, that's a different setup because of how high that price is at the beginning of the game. Here at 6.5 at even money, we should be able to get 6 -125 pretty soon. So I'll be looking for that in game. I did grab -125. That's still available for the first period over. You can get that at Caesars at the decent price. Anything 135 or higher, I would also wait to grab in game. But I think this one goes overtime. So I played draw. I grabbed +330, and I also grabbed 4-4 correct score +2,400 at FanDuel. And that's a little bit bigger than my usual correct score plays during the season. So that's more of a quarter unit play to go along with that draw.
Yeah, no doubt. Good stuff there. All right, Ryan, you're the Dallas Stars fan. I know it's been I don't want to say trying couple of weeks because it's not like it's the end of the world. You were going to play Colorado. It's not like those games truly mattered down the stretch, but it's still disconcerting to see the issues defensively and the 7 consecutive losses down the stretch. But where are you at entering game 1 here, Colorado, Dallas?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't feel great a couple days ago. I was frustrated that Robertson got hurt. Obviously, Heiskanen's been out, so I was frustrated, didn't know what to think. And, looking back and kind of taking a pause, I had to remember how deep they are and they're built to deal with injuries and stuff like this. So it's not going to be easy. The sad thing is one of these teams is going to be out in the first round, and, that team could make a deep run, if they were playing in this series. So I feel pretty good. They obviously have struggled at home game 1s. I know that was a focus that they talked about. I heard Duchesne was talking about it, and, they had a tendency last year to kind of sit back and wait to get hit and then, throw a punch. Or this year they're trying to say, fuck it, let's throw the first punch and, not sit back on our heels. So definitely defensive, couple defensive questions with them. I saw Miro Heiskanen was skating today. He is listed as day-to-day now, which will be a huge boost for them. So if they can, split this or find a way to somehow sweep, just stay alive the first few games and get him back, that will be massive. But in terms of game 1, I feel good about it. I think +130, I'm going to have to take a small shot just as a fan bet. Most of the time this year I was betting Dallas at, -130, -140. So I like that a lot of people are on Colorado. So I feel like that +130 is good. And I feel good, if they go out tonight and make a statement, none of those last 7 games matter. I went to one of their last home game against Utah, and you just kind of tell they were a little bit checked out. They were already locked in for the last couple weeks. They knew they had home ice. They knew they were playing Colorado. So you could just kind of sense there wasn't that same urgency, and they were just trying to get through and get to the playoffs. So, if they win tonight, it washes all that and it doesn't really matter. And I think the biggest thing is the forward group is still force. And someone said in the chat, they have that depth up front. They have that, I saw that there are a couple player props that I like, longer shots, but Because of Robertson being out, I saw that Granlund and Dodonov may slot up with Hintz on that first line. Granlund's plus 380 for any time. Dodonov is plus 500. He was a third, fourth line guy a lot of this year, scratched sometimes, and he still had 20 plus goals. So if he's playing with Hintz, those are some good value looks that I like.
Totally agree.
Block shot props are also, come this time of year, depending on who you look at, are good. Yeah. Esa Lindell eats pucks. He stays out there for the full 2 minutes on their penalty kill sometimes. He averaged above 2 block shots per game this year and had 3 or more in 4 of their last 6 regular season games. Him at over 2.5 blocks is plus 115. So that's something.
I fully agree with that. He is their Chris Tanev now. Now that Chris Tanev's in Toronto, he is a absolute shot suppressing machine back there, Esselund, and especially with Miro out too. So he's had to take even on a bigger load, and I think he's arguably their best defensive defenseman now with Miro out. So I love that. Sleep on block shots props. This is when you want to be betting block shots props. Playoffs. This is when the players go the extra mile to make sure they help their goalies out.
When there's someone like you mentioned, like him, that's kind of like a Tanev, just a shot suppressor, and he's so good at it the regular season, laying his body on the line, and the playoffs, it amps up to a different level. So I look for him to be, blocking shots left and right, especially if they're on the kill. Like I said, he stays out there the full 2 minutes sometimes. So I really like that at plus 115. I'm going to have to shop around, see if there's a better price. But, and then also the third line, I saw someone had touched on it. They've had to shuffle stuff around. Their third line is projected to be Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnston, and Mikko Rantanen. So having Rantanen and Wyatt Johnston, who's a 30-goal scorer or whatever, on your third line is absurd. So that depth, I look for those two to get some chemistry together. I saw Wyatt Johnston to get a point is like minus 115, which is pretty cheap considering he'll be on the first power play. So that's stuff that I look for. And then also something that I haven't seen a lot in the regular season is there are time on ice props. And so the only ones I'm seeing right now are Cale Makar and Thomas Harley, which I'm gonna have to look at those. But, Bednar does ride his big dogs. If it's a 1-goal game, if it's a close game, McKinnon and Makar are out there every other shift, it seems like, in crunch time. So time on ice props is something I'm going to be monitoring. I'm not sure if I'm going to hop on those for this game. But yeah, I'm excited to watch this as a fan. I'm excited to see how my team reacts, if they throw the first punch, but I do feel good about it. I think it is going to be a 6-game series. I don't see, either side winning in 4 or 5. I think it's going to be back and forth and, an emotional roller coaster. So this is definitely, obviously the one I'm most excited for. No first period props or totals for me. In this one, if it is 0-0, again, this is another game. That 6.5 will quickly drop. So if it is 0-0, I might look for goal in first 10 or second period over, something like that. But I'm just going to stay off and, see how the first period goes. So yeah, I feel good about it. I'm excited, and it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight.
It sure will be. You mentioned certainly some Dodonov, if he's up where we think he might be, he's worth a look. I'm a Wyatt Johnston guy all the way in the postseason because I saw it last year how that guy elevates and steps his game up in the postseason. So I'm definitely interested as far as props go from his standpoint, no question about that. And then of course on the Colorado side, who's been a playoff performer, who feels like he's probably got to owe it to his team, to have a great playoffs. And after, the problems and the issues and the mistakes off the ice that, cost him last year, Big Val Nichushkin, who has been, and a former Dallas Star, you got the former team angle as well in there. So no question, Val Nichushkin makes sense as far as props go on the Colorado side of the equation. Here in this game, we'll have to see how Jared Bednar puts his lines together. But Lehkonen and Drouin are two people that I think could make a difference. Brock Nelson's been a good playoff performer in the past with the Islanders. We'll see if he can kind of bring that here now in that second line center spot with the Colorado Avalanche. So definitely some good prop opportunities. And I'm just being told, apparently, someone in my DM on Twitter mentioned to me that if you have Fanatics Sportsbook, you can actually bet player hits in these games as well, which is absolutely outstanding. And I'm actually seeing it now at Fanatics that you can actually bet player hits, and obviously playoff time, the hits quotient goes up.
Tread lightly, proceed with extreme caution. If they can't get shots on goal right, you're relying on them to grade hits. Tread very lightly.
Yeah. What's a hit? Is just any kind of light fucking contact considered a hit? Or does it actually have to be a hard hit where you see, how do you judge that? How do you rule a hit?
But I appreciate Fanatics for doing something different and going outside the box. I will say that.
That is good. That's pretty cool that they've got that. Tom Wilson's a candidate. I'm trying to think for these teams who would be a great candidate for hits. Tom Wilson for Washington, 100%, no doubt. Jamie Benn maybe for Dallas. He'll throw his weight around. One that stands out too for Winnipeg is Brandon Tanev. That guy hits everything in sight. Brady Tkachuk for Ottawa, goes without saying. That guy hits everything in sight. So there's definitely, a lot of players that would be good total hits player prop bets if you have access to Fanatics. But you're right. How do they properly judge and evaluate what is a hit? That's always what we're worried about. Shots on goal stat corrections. Boy, oh boy, there's definitely some concern that we'd be worried about, total hits corrections as well, right?
Yeah, and here's the thing now. You can handicap the site essentially by maybe taking $5, spreading it across a couple of players and see how they grade it. And if they grade it cleanly, then you can go move forward. So maybe that's the way to look at that.
Yeah, no doubt. So it's definitely it's the first time I've ever seen it offered in any sort of betting market, player hits. But like I said, it's a market that's worth looking into. And again, but don't unload on it. That's what we're trying to warn you on. Keep your bets small. It's fun to dabble in it. It's a new market. I think it's a market you can exploit, and you can find some value. You can find some good bets. But again, let's see what happens. Let's see how they grade them, of course, as far as what do they register as a quote unquote hit in these games. Yeah.
And we've seen since the breakdown of PAPSA and seeing all the domestic books, as I like to call them, appear, we've seen things unveiled and introduced during the playoffs that would carry on during the regular season. For example, it's gone now because we hammered it, but that over 1.5 power play trend that we were hitting at FanDuel, that started as a playoff prop, and then it moved over to the regular season. So there's things that they're trying to, they're kind of working things out too. So if this works and they're able to grade it properly, we may see this across all books next regular season.
Yeah, no doubt. And there you go. The stat man himself, Jonathan's got everything you need there. Nate, with the leading hit man on each team, the leader in hits, Nathan Walker, St. Louis, Marcus Foligno, Minnesota, Paul Cotter, New Jersey. He's rhyming them off right now in the chat. Nice. Money Mac, very good. The Score Bet has hits available as well. So that's good to know. 100%. There you go. So the Score Bet, which is, of course, based out of Canada, Ontario. So there you go. Keegan Colasar and Tom Wilson hits leaders for their respective teams. So, yeah, definitely good to know.
It's cool. I would love for them to be able to do it and grade it properly. That's something that's a market I would look to bet into as well. I just, got to wait. Yeah.
It's exciting that it's even being offered somewhere.
Absolutely.
People. No doubt. That's great. Great. You want to see it. Give the bettor more options. That's what we're looking for. Don't restrict us. Don't limit us. Don't take away our markets and our options. That's all we ask. And so when we see this, we're definitely happy to see it, no doubt. All right, there you have it. We knew it would be shorter shows here in the postseason, obviously, because especially this weekend, because we've got the 2 games today, 3 games tomorrow. We'll be back, of course, on Sunday at noon Eastern. Make sure you sign up at patreon.com/iceguys, $10 per month. This afternoon, right after the show or not long after, I'll be posting Alex's series bets, whether it's series prices, futures, you name it. We'll get that posted on the Patreon page this afternoon. Mine will follow in a little bit later. I'm hoping to have mine up by 4 p.m. Eastern time today. All my series bets, futures, series prices, player prop series bets, where leading goal scorer for their team, for the series, over or under goals or points in the series. We're going to have a bunch of those posted on the page this afternoon. So make sure you check that out, as well, of course, as our Game 1 card. sides, totals, player props, and those will be posted, as always, each and every day on the Patreon page throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. So make sure you get on board. And also our first Stanley Cup playoffs live betcast, Patreon exclusive. You see it on the screen right there. Thursday, later this week, April 24th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, our first Stanley Cup playoff live betcast exclusive to Patreon. So make sure you sign up if you aren't already. $10 per month. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. So get on board for the Stanley Cup playoffs, $10 per month at patreon.com/iceguys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Playoff time, it's springtime. It's a great time to get a cap or a t-shirt or a hoodie, maybe all three. If you get 3 or more items, you get 10% off for the next 5 days at the store. So just click on the redeem button at the homepage, add 3 or more items to your cart, and 10% will be available and taken out at checkout. So that's 5 days left. 3 items or more, 10% off at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yep, and get this great gear like this, the draw season shirt, among others, at the Ice Guys store. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Hey, Ian, I got to tell you about this app I've been using lately called Kalshi. Kalshi.com. Did you know it's the only place where you can trade on March Madness in all 50 U.S. states?
I have heard about this, actually. Kalshi is the first and only legal prediction market that lets you trade on real-world events with the look and feel of stock trading, whether it's who will win elections, who will win the Grammy or Oscar awards, or what the price of Bitcoin will hit this year. You can bet you trade on just about anything on Kalshi.
With over 1 million users across all 50 states and over $1 billion worth of trades, Kalshi is an absolute game changer. And with March Madness coming to a close, baseball about to get in the full swing, playoffs on the horizon in hockey and basketball, now's the time to sign up to trade with Kalshi today.
Sign up at kalshi.com/iceguys, and the first 500 traders to join and trade 100 contracts, you will get a free $10 credit added to your account. So don't miss out on all the action. Join Kalshi today at kalshi.com/iceguys. That's kalshi.com/iceguys. Shout out to all our great sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc. Check them out, Boston Hemp Inc. 420 sale, though, 40% off, correct? There we go.
That's
I remembered it. 420 is on the way tomorrow. A lot of people stoned out of their minds at Easter Sunday dinner, so check it out. BostonHempInc.com, 40% off, 420 the promo code. And, of course, check out Kalshi, great trading platform, more than just sports. Kalshi.com/iceguys. All right, bargain bin special of the night. First playoff bargain bin special of the night segment. Alex, what do you like for the bargain bin special for the 2 game ones tonight?
Let's head down to Big D for game 1, Colorado, Dallas. It's going to be a fun one. We expect goals. And I think one of the guys he's chipped in the bargain bin special during the regular season. I think he's going to be a key factor. He's one of those guys they brought in late to really shore up things for the Colorado Avalanche. It's Charlie Coyle. You can get him anytime goal scorer. I get plus 500 at DraftKings. So I think Coyle will be one of the guys to get on the board tonight for the Avs. That's my bargain bin special this Saturday night.
There you go. Charlie Coyle, Colorado, for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. Ryan, bargain bin special.
So I'm going down to Dallas too. I got to stick with what I know. And it was tough for me. I thought about Granlund plus 400, Dodonna plus 550. Those guys are going to get top line minutes, but I feel like I have to go with the captain, Jamie Benn, plus 450 as high as I'm seeing. He's going to be playing with Wyatt Johnson and Mikko Rantanen, and those guys create time and space. They make so many plays. Jamie Benn goes to the front of the net, so he's going to be on the power play. He's going to be net front, and I think playing with those two, he's going to get a lot of looks. So I got to go with the captain to step up big tonight. So give me Jamie Benn, anytime goal, seeing it around as high as like plus 450. That's my bargain bin special for tonight.
All right, good stuff indeed. I like it. All right, bargain bin special. I'll give you 2. I'll give you 1 from each game. We're going to Cole Perfetti for the Winnipeg Jets. I've been talking a lot about how I think it could be a really breakout moment in the postseason for Cole Perfetti. I think he's ready to make a really good impact for this team. I like the way he was producing down the stretch for the Winnipeg Jets. Cole Perfetti plus 330 for my first bargain bin special of the night for the Winnipeg Jets. And my second one, I will go to Dallas in that game, and I will go with Brock Nelson, plus 320. A guy that produced in the playoffs for the Islanders. He's certainly now with probably a better team on paper than any of those Islander teams that were in the playoffs. On that second line, centering that group, Brock Nelson, someone that I found has had a decent amount of playoff success in the past. Plus 320 at DraftKings is one of the better prices out there with Brock Nelson. So Brock Nelson plus 320, Colorado for bargain bin special of the night from that game. Cole Perfetti, Brock Nelson.
Quickly before we get to best bets, I'm just seeing this is some news coming in. Oliver Bjorkstrand for Tampa Bay out for the playoffs, at least for the first round.
Not just the first round anymore. Yeah. Unfortunate because they got him.
But just first round, it just said he'll miss it all. So just first round playoff series. But they're going to reevaluate. So that's not looking good for somebody trying to bring in the help in the playoff stretch.
No, that isn't because and he had been playing all right. So that's going to put more onus on some of these other guys that have stepped up, like Nick Paul and Connor Geekie and Gage Gonzalez, and we'll see if they can chip in from that bottom 6 forward group for Tampa Bay when they take on Florida. But we'll talk more about that on Monday. It's time now to get to best bets here for this Saturday edition of the show. Stanley Cup playoffs are finally here. We dropped the puck tonight. I can't wait. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
We'll go to that first game that's starting St. Louis and Winnipeg. And Mike Tyson, wisest words he's probably ever said was, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's what I'm expecting to happen to the Winnipeg Jets tonight. I think they get punched in the face here by a St. Louis team that's coming in with a head full of steam and momentum from the regular season, and then they settle down and get things back in the form. So you can get the St. Louis Blues on the money line as high as plus 175 at Caesars, 170 at a couple other shops as well. Shop around. But I'm going with that big dog, St. Louis, to take game 1 as my Saturday best bet.
There you go. I like it. Bold game 1 best bet right there from Alex B. Smith. All right, Ryan, best bet.
Yeah, so normally it's a side or team total, but for my best bet today, I got to go with that Lindell over 2.5 block shots. I see it as high as plus 120. Shop around, look for it, but he's going to be eating big minutes on the penalty kill, and he's consistently soared above that line in the playoffs. So give me Lindell over 2.5 block shots is my best bet today.
All right, Esselin, that's a great. I really like that one. Lindell block shots. He is a block shot machine. Over block 2.5 block shots at plus money. Lindell for the Dallas Stars for best bet. And my best bet for this Saturday slate, there are still some 6s, and I'm glad, which is good. But Colorado, Dallas over 6 minus 120. That will be my best bet for this Saturday. I have 5.5 at minus 115. It's clearly not as good, but I still think we get 7 goals here. Remember, we saw 4-3 in game 1 between these teams last year. We saw every regular season meeting this year between Colorado and Dallas go over the total. So Avs Stars over 6 minus 120 for best bet here for this Saturday NHL slate. Before we wrap up, I do want to touch on there are a couple of Black Saturday apparently in the NHL because we have seen a couple firings announced. Greg Cronin in Anaheim fired. Not a surprise there. I kind of figured, they're going to go in a different direction, maybe less of a hard, tough coach like that for the next choice for Anaheim with such a young group. And it looks like it was just official that Peter Laviolette's been let go by the New York Rangers, which was the worst kept secret in hockey history, it feels like. Yeah.
Right.
So there you go.
I'm sure we'll be hearing more of those probably throughout the week. So.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, a reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast if you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Ryan Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. The playoffs are here. Let's go. 2 game ones. I can't wait. Enjoy the games tonight and good luck. We'll be back with you tomorrow on Sunday at noon Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.